Aubrey, we have a fantastic listener question about listening. And not just a listener, a student. So this student already got her answer in our private community, but we are going to open up this listening advice to everyone today. Aubrey, can you read the student's excellent question, please?
Yes, shout out to Three Keys Out student Evelyn, who said, "Hey guys, in my recent practice, I lost many points on listening part 3. I don't have enough time to highlight the keywords, and the conversation has so many distractions, especially for the matching questions. I
Mm,
very much appreciate your advice and thank you."
Good question. So, guys, we are going to split this up into two sections of advice today, okay? First, we're going to talk about how to have time, how to not feel panicked and rushed on listening, how to keep track. And then in the second part, we're going to talk about how to not get distracted and fall for IELTS tricks. All right. So, we're going to answer everything in this question today. Let's get into the timing and the keywords first. Aubrey, what is our first tip here?
Yeah, so time is definitely tight before that audio begins. You have to use that time to identify as many keywords as possible and make predictions. And the more you practice that, the faster it will be. When you
Yeah.
first learn the strategy and know it's something you need to do, you can't assume that you're going to be able to do it in the time you have before that audio begins. This is a skill
Mhm.
like any other. You need to train your brain. You need to get this down to where you can do it very quickly.
Exactly, guys. Yes, we teach you the most simple strategies you need for the IELTS exam in our course and on this podcast, but it's not like a magic easy thing that all of a sudden you can do it perfectly. Nothing is like that, right? With
Right.
every strategy, no matter how simple, you still have to practice it many times before you are really good at it, before you are confident at it, and before you are fast at it, right? So give
Exactly.
it a little bit of time, right? But do remember that you have to trust the system you choose. You have to trust the strategies you choose in order for you to do them again and again and feel more confident at using them.
Yes. And so, one thing to know with our three key strategies, once you have identified keywords, as you're listening to the audio, you're going to focus on those keywords while you listen. You're like staring at the ones you've highlighted because when you hear them or a parallel expression, a synonym of them, you know the answer is always right there. You need to really like perk up, right? So, it's not
Mhm,
enough just to be
mhm.
aware of what the keywords are. You are then a very active listener as the audio plays.
Exactly. And remember that on listening, guys, it's all in order. Okay. You never are gonna have to go back to number 2 after number 4 or whatever. It's all in order on the listening. So don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt the strategies because that wastes time. If you are looking at a question and you hear that keyword, you're tuning in carefully, you're focusing, you're choosing an answer, you have to trust yourself that that is where that answer is, right? Don't keep waiting. Don't be like, oh, I'm pretty sure there's another way to answer this coming up. I'm just going to stick with number 3 here. No, because you're going to miss the rest of the questions, right? So as soon as you hear that answer, mark it, move on to the next question because that answer is coming.
Yes, and this is a skill that needs to be practiced,
Yeah.
right? If you wait until test day to practice doing that, you will find yourself hesitating, waiting, second guessing answers, and then missing because the audio keeps going. The next answers are coming. So, this is a skill that must be practiced once you have those strategies.
All right. So she also asked specifically about matching questions on listening. Usually, when we hear matching questions, we think of reading, we think of matching headings to paragraphs, matching sentence halves, right? Those question types are not on listening. For listening, the type of matching that you're going to hear, it's more like a classification question or a labeling question, bunch of different names for the same question type. On listening, you'll see like 3 different options. Let's say you have to match these descriptions to book titles or something, right? So you're going to hear a conversation in part 3 between a student and a professor, and you have to listen and match the right descriptions to the books. So it could be like A is required, B is optional, C is never. So you'll hear the student asking about, but what about these journals from the New England Journal of Medicine or whatever? Do I have to read all of these? And then the professor says, well, this is up to you according to your chosen direction of research. So if the professor says this is up to you, then that's another way of saying optional, right? Which means
Right.
that is the answer for that question. So these are confusing for sure because it feels like you have to keep the options in mind the whole time, required, optional, never. This is how you solve that, guys. Before you listen, you look at these options and just quickly predict vocabulary. How can I say required, right? A must, vital, necessary. How can I,
Mandatory. Yes.
mandatory, good. And
Good.
good.
Excellent student. Thank you, Jessica. You're in teacher mode.
Oh my
That's okay.
God.
I'll take
I know.
it.
I was totally full on teacher mode for a
So
minute.
funny. I love it.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, so that prediction is vital. Okay, because then you're ready to hear these options. And then while you're listening, you are still, guys, you're staring at those keywords. You're highlighted journal, New England, and then you're tuned in for the options for A and B and C.
Yes, you have to be also aware of the distractors. We've talked about these in the past here on the podcast, the specific tricks, pitfalls that are on every exam so that you don't fall for them. So you can go back. We have an episode called 4 IELTS Listening Tricks on Every Exam. You can find that on our blog. This is important that you are aware. We go into details for all of the types of tricks that test raters are intentionally putting in there to try and trick you. If you are aware of them, you won't fall for them.
Exactly. And we have done some amazing live listening practice on on this show, guys. So definitely scroll up and find was the English listening practice, was that an episode?
Yes, English listening
Do you
practice for
remember it
multiple
was?
speakers. Would you want to be famous? We'll see if I can
Nice.
find the number of it here.
Nice. All right. So definitely hit follow right now, guys, because we know you love that live listening practice that we've done. I'm going to give you a method, an activity you guys can use so you stop getting tricked and trapped. All right. Try to work backwards. If you, like the student, are noticing, gosh, listening part 3 is the worst, I'm getting tons of wrong answers, start approaching it from a different perspective. Okay. Get some listening part 3s or maybe just a whole listening test. Write the answers first. Okay. And then listen. While you're listening, now you can realize what's a distractor and what's not. Compare these answers to the listening script, audio script, transcript, and actually circle the words that are distracting you, okay? And then highlight the words that are matching parallel expressions. Prove to yourself that the answers are always next to the key words. And you're going to notice that IELTS does trick you and trap you the same way on every exam, okay? So once you start noticing these, you will not be tricked like this in the future.
Yes, exactly. This is such a great tip to work backwards like this, right? Anytime you do a listening answers, take that time, especially the ones you missed. Figure out why you missed it. What was the trick? What was the trap? And then on test day, you won't fall for them.
Exactly, exactly. All right, guys. So hit follow right now so you never miss another listening strategy episode. On Tuesday, guys, we had a great episode about vocabulary. So scroll up and look for episode 1380. Okay. It was the very last episode we did. Hit follow right now so you don't miss another episode. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.